welcome to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him at gods5minutes@gmail.com. Now, here's Ed Wilson with God's 5 Minutes.
Hello, friends. The opening verses of the 56th Psalm were clearly composed as a prayer of those who are under severe peril because of merciless enemies. One of the most ancient translations of the Bible, the Syriac, offers this introduction in its caption, a thanksgiving of the righteous man because he was delivered from his enemy and from the hand of Saul, also concerning the Jews and Christ. The solemn words are still relevant to us, for Christ's enemies were motivated by Satan, that implacable enemy of Jesus, and he's just as relentless against us. The courage and inspiration that buoyed up David's soul also lifted Jesus as he hung between heaven and earth and will sustain us today. So here are the first verses of Psalm 56. Be merciful unto me, O God, for man would swallow me up. He fighting daily oppresseth me. Mine enemies would daily swallow me up, for they be many that fight against me, O thou most high. What time I am afraid, I will trust in thee. David wrote the 56th Psalm during the time of both Saul's and Philistine persecution. Knowing this gives a special meaning to some of the phrases farther down in the body of the old song. Thou tellest my wanderings describes more than a hiker taking a pleasant, aimless afternoon stroll through Israel's mountain fastnesses. It surely comforted and hunted David to know every cold, stony cave he had to use for a bed, every cheerless campsite without a fire and under constant alert was known by God. It is a comfort to us to know when we are weary, frustrated, exhausted, our travails are not just another ripple on an endless sea. God keeps a record in his book of each of them, and each have a meaning to be fully realized in the next world. David said, Put thou my tears into thy bottle. His water bottle would of necessity have been with him everywhere his restless wander took him. The records we have of David show he was an emotional man. Who knows how often he wept during those 15 years of running and hiding from Saul, only able to visit his home and family at terrible peril, if at all, unable to so much as raise one sheep to remind him of his boyhood. Have you ever been homesick? David counted God as preserving his tears into the record of his life, and his spirit was comforted with that knowledge. God is the same for us. So David gave us that wonderful phrase that has brought solace and renewed courage to many a Christian soldier who is faced with the battles of life. What time I am afraid, I will trust in thee. The Hebrew phrase here translated, I will trust, means more, much more than those simple words can tell us. It signifies clinging with a resolute, unbreakable grip, coupled with the idea of deeply personal, intimate union. It is a testimony of a soul that has opened itself to the infilling of the essence of godliness and lives in sweet communion with him. It is also a statement of the divine truth that so long as we resolve to serve the Lord, although devils shriek and howl and adversities mount on every side, we can never be forced against our will to relinquish God. We can only be separated from him if we choose to be. It is when we are afraid that we trust in God. The person never knows confidence who does not know how the occasion that evoked and preceded it was terror and need. This principle, first fear and only then faith, applies to every aspect of our necessities, weaknesses, sorrows. When life has forced us to face a profound sense of need, of being exposed to danger, of weakness, even of sorrow, we are being conditioned to also experience the calmness of confidence. Spiritual confidence is not the result of outward circumstances. It comes from a holy, fixed resolve. True faith, by a mighty effort of the will, fixes its gaze on the heavenly helper, and only there finds it possible to quiet the natural fears that are the natural reaction to perils.
You have been listening to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him by email at godsfiveminutes@gmail.com. Tune in next time to hear more encouraging thoughts from God's Word on God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson.